Hey guys, KRXTV here with part 2 of my review of Kamen Rider Drive Type Tridoron. And so in this video I'm going to basically show you guys how all the different tires that are released so far work with Type Tridoron because of its unique design. Now as you can see, this is the point we're at with the tires. They're currently out of all of the Koukan tires that have been released, being 21 in all. There are 11 released so far, with 3 more on the way, that being Monton, Jackie, and Spanner. Though I don't have that set just yet, should be getting it pretty soon. And so that'll bump us up to 14. And so, even then we're gonna be missing some. As, for the ones that have appeared in the show, we still have no set release for Rolling Gravity, Hooking Wrecker, and Road Winter. And tires for Burning Solar, Colorful Commercial, Deco Traveler, and Amazing Circus have not even had any signs of being made, or plans to be made. So, just to get started, we'll do them one by one. So first is Max Flare. This one, you're going to want to take it and put it on there. And you can spin it with the flares closed down. And then you can open them up. Have one resting here. Then open up the rest. Just like so. This is actually similar to how the Attack 1-2-3 tire works, where it has parts sticking out of all of this except for on the bottom. Even though I showed it in the actual review, you gotta once again show Funky Spike. Just because you actually want to be careful here to make sure that you're able to have this right down there, so you can have one of the spikes on either side of the torso. That way it will actually fit on, but at the same time, because of that, you're not going to be able to rotate this whatsoever. Even then, unfortunately, the spikes are a bit too long for it to be able to rotate one way or another. Next for Midnight Shadow, I'm going to take that and place it on, and make sure that you have it so that its blades are sticking out in a kind of a cross shape, or an X shape, like so. There's another one where you won't be able to spin it though. For Justice Hunter, you're going to want to attach it. And this is one of the ones where there's nothing sticking out of it. Instead, it comes with a weapon, so there's not too much of a problem. You can just equip it with the Justice Cage. Though I don't really like using this tire too much, is because the red of the tire blends in a lot with the red of the suit. With Mad Doctor, it's basically the same story. Detach the tool, attach the tire, and equip. This one is fortunately designed so that even though you can hear it's kind of clacking against this part down here, you can still spin it. And since it's only one weapon, or in this case one tool, it does allow you to have him hold the stethoscope in the other hand. For Fire Braver, this is just a tire on its own, so this will just equip on. This one stands out a little bit more, just because there's not so much red sticking out on the sides, and it's a painted red instead of red plastic. Though for this one, as far as the gimmick goes, it's a little tricky just because you can only stick it out so far before it starts to get weighed down just by itself, since there's no real lock. But a little trick I found is that the shoulder pad itself can be used as a bit of a stopper. If you lift it up like that, it can basically hold the tire in place to give you a bit more posability. Like so. Next is Rumble Dump. It's again one of the ones where you can't make use of the gear gimmick, just because that was specifically designed for Type Wild. This one will clip on like so. And this is one where it doesn't really spin very well. It can rotate, but there's just a bit too much friction because of the outer rim. Though he'll still hold on to the weapon. The Spin Mixer is probably one of the easiest, just because it's its own tire, with no real gimmick of any kind. So it just kind of clips on and spins. Next is Dream Vegas. And this one, well, you can kind of get that slot machine mode for the full throttle attack. It doesn't work out so great. And it seems a little bit beyond the tricky side to put on. But here it is normally, and it's another one that has a bit of a problem because the little notch that sticks out for turning the slots does kind of get in the way, so you can't really properly spin it. But you can hold the two drum shields. Though these have always been the kind of thing that are a bit hard to attach to any figure because of the way they design the handles, where it's a solid piece that doesn't really detach. Like that. And for the slot machine mode, while you can attach the other two tires to make that stacking, it doesn't work quite so well here, because as you can see there are these two little notches on the sides of the inner joint that have it line up here and here. These parts unfortunately don't have that, so it doesn't really work out so well. It does attach, but as you can see, this is really quite loose, and so it's basically the kind of thing where it's just kind of drooping down like this, and it will pop up really easily. For Dimension Cab, this is one where I would suggest taking it apart at the magnets, or by the magnets, before actually attaching it, just because that makes it a little bit easier. Especially because it lets you better line up the connectors. And you still have that gimmick where you can split apart. Though admittedly, having just an arm detached is not quite as useful as having half of your torso detached. But there is that. And last but not least, this massive monster. This one is again not too much of a problem, especially because it's one of the smaller tires circumference-wise, since it's meant to fit inside of the two monster claws. The nice thing about it is that the face is really quite straight here, similar to how it is on Type Wild. And it spins quite well. And then of course you can have him holding the two halves of the monster. And when you're all done, you just switch back to the Type Tridoron tire. Now the reason I only use these and not the Type tires is just because those are specifically for those types. So even though it is technically possible to do that, it's not something that really makes much sense. Just because it's something that really is completely impossible in the show itself, even in theory. Whereas with Type Tridoron, it is, like, theoretically or hypothetically possible that he could somehow figure out a way to do Tire Koukan while in that mode. Especially since it does work in the belt. And I do apologize for knocking him down. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, he seems to have a little bit of a weight problem, and it's possibly the tire or possibly the ankle joints. But it seems like unless I have him standing in, like, the, just right position, he'll just fall over. Though I'm thinking this is most likely a problem of my figure and not something that's a general problem for Type Tridoron. Simply because it does seem like it's a thing with the ankles, and this actually only started to happen recently. So I do think it's mostly just a quality control problem. But there you go. That's showing that Type Tridoron, despite the weird placement of the tire, does work with all the previously released tires. So, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, share, or comment. And you can check me out at Facebook, at facebook.com/KRX50. And this is KRX50, writing off.